direct impact on my kids and what my kids think about me. I mean, it probably hit hardest one day when my daughter looked at me and said, "Dad, Dad, Dad," and I was doing this, looking at my phone. Yeah, And she said, "Dad, is your phone more important than me?" And she's 7. And she figured out that she was trying to show me something. She was trying to show me her newest dance move, which is the same dance move she does every single night. But she wanted to show me it again, and I was doing this. And what was I doing? I mean, it was 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. I wasn't doing anything important. I guarantee you I was just kind of sucked into the abyss of Facebook. And I was like, wow. She thought my phone was more important than her. So what is that teaching her? What is that teaching any of our kids when you see adults walking around, walking down the street, looking at their phones, sitting at a bus stop, looking at their phones, sitting in school? I mean, every one of us does this. We have like a downtime, a minute of spare time, and the first thing we all do, especially if we're even remotely uncomfortable, is we grab our phones. And it's not even just that. Again, it's what I talked about at the beginning. It's how we use it. I'll tell you one more quick story, because again, I want to respect your time. But as a wrestling coach, I see my job is to help influence these kids, to help, not just teach them how to wrestle, but to teach them life skills, things that they'll take with them beyond the wrestling mat, into college and beyond. And I expect high school boys and girls to do dumb things. I expect them to make mistakes. I expect them to occasionally post something on Facebook they shouldn't post, or say something they shouldn't say. I expect that because they're kids. They're gonna make mistakes. What I think I've had the hardest time understanding is how the adults in the room, not my coaching staff, but the parents, how some of the parents treat these young kids. I had a kid last year who made a mistake. He did something at a wrestling match he shouldn't have done. He was angry, and he acted out of character, and he got in trouble for it. He got in trouble right then and there. He got punished. He served his punishment. But for him, it didn't end, because the parents of a kid from another school, multiple parents in fact, even parents from our very town who weren't associated with the program, but found out what happened, they decided to take it on themselves to attack a 17-year-old who made a mistake. And they didn't do it in person, they did it on Facebook. They went all over Facebook. They went on the Merrimack Forum. They went on our own Facebook page. They were tweeting at him and saying what a horrible person he was, and that he should be kicked off every team and expelled from school for a mistake. And it was one of the worst forms of cyberbullying I've seen. It came from parent against a kid. And it wasn't even their kid that got hurt in this situation. And I was like, man, if that's what adults are gonna do, of course kids are gonna do it too. So my kind of quick message tonight is that how social media is used starts with us. How our cell phones are used starts with us. As parents, as teachers, as mentors. If we can't put our phones down, if we can't say the right thing and do the right thing and just be nice to each other, we should never expect our kids to. Thank you.
Have questions for you.
Sure.
You did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Questions or comments? Right.
I wish I had a chance to ask questions later, because right now I'm feeling very impacted by the whole thing, and I'm not sure I could even put something together, but I really appreciate you coming and talking to us about this, because as a parent, it is definitely something that's constantly concerning, what's out there from peers, from other adults, making comments about I mean, not quite as vicious as what you're describing, people calling out your kid, you're thinking, wait, aren't you an adult? Don't you have something better to do? You know, but that's always is concerning,
Yep.
but thank you for sharing that.
It's a pretty confusing role to figure out how schools deal with cyberbullying, and there's some statutes that require some reporting and some things, but even trying to figure out when it started or where it ended and whether the school's involved or does it happen at home on their own time. There's a million questions that the statute seems simple until you try to apply it to some things. I know that that's not necessarily your area.
No, but I mean, when I was teaching, I mean, we ran into this all the time, because I work with kids who oftentimes were the victims of cyberbullying. And, you know, you report it and you have to figure out, okay, well, what evidence do you even still have? Because especially things like Snapchat, it's gone after, you know, a minute. It's like kids post it and it disappears. So if someone posts it, unless someone else screenshot it right away, you know, you have to prove that it actually happened. And it's so difficult, and I think schools generally do a really good job of trying to combat cyberbullying and really what even constitutes cyberbullying. You know, what's a kid being mean and what's bullying. It's an extremely difficult task, I think, for any school system. So.
I think I mentioned to you one time, last time that we talked about an observation that I had in one of the posts in town. Someone had posted a comment that a certain business was going to come into town and set up shop in a shopping center, and people started to respond to that with, you know, why do we need that business? It doesn't fit with our community. We don't want to do that. And the next set of comments was, you know, well, the town's taking a bribe from somebody, and you're getting this, and the initial comment about the business coming to town was absolutely made up out of thin air. The business is not coming to town, never was, never thought about it. It was absolutely just trolling.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, it just degenerates to things that nobody would ever stand up to a person in there under those circumstances and make some of those crazy kinds of accusations.
But it's amazing how sucked in you get. I mean, I get sucked into it all the time. I never respond to it because that just makes it worse. But man, I read some posts on these forums, these groups, and it's so frustrating. You just get, you know, again, it's like Facebook's like a casino. You know, once you go in, you can't get out, right? Until you've lost all your money. So, words of the wise: don't go in. Stay out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there aren't any other questions, then thank you very much. I think what I had in mind with kind of introducing Tim to our school is to think whether there's an application for some of the principles that he has for the faculty, and trying to help out, understanding more about what's going on and things. And I don't know where that'll go, and we don't have to sort it out or discuss it tonight, but just wanted to offer that up. So, turning back to our agenda, Maureen, you had some time that you'd like to have reserved to finish up a little bit of your needs report.
Right, thank you, and thank you, Mr. McMahon. That was very good, very informative, and I'm glad you so succinctly put it together like that. Thank you. Thanks. So item 4 of my dean's report is a round table template. Now, round table, just to give a little background on this, is the first named item in our curriculum, which is named, in fact, the Founding Fathers Character and Leadership Curriculum. So it is that integral to our curriculum that we named first in that overview that can be found online. It's the first 30 minutes of every day, so A period is what we call round table. And we're always looking for ways to keep round table in focus and to enhance it, as well as to assist teachers in being able to advise a round table based on their grade level. So with that, I'm going to have Mr. Klein review a template that was designed over the summer and walk you through it. He's going to give the same presentation, as I understand, that he gave to the teachers when this was unveiled during their orientation in August, as an attempt in a way to enhance roundtable and assist those roundtable advisor teachers in this integral focus of our curriculum. With that, Mr. Klein.
Good evening, everyone. couple of years that at least I've been here, we've had one or two different ways that we can deliver material as teachers in our roundtables. We've had a template organized last year by myself and Mr. Gomont for middle school and high school, and then this last year, based on some feedback we had from some teachers, a new template was designed in order to give some more flexibility for teachers during the day. So I'd like to kind of show you what the teachers have to work with on a monthly basis. We're going to kind of scroll down. We have at the bottom of the page here are the different grade levels broken up in which the teachers will be assigned, starting with grade 6, and then 7 and 8 are paired up together, 9 and 10, and then 11 and 12. Also down here on the bottom left, we have roundtable projects. Each roundtable is responsible for some sort of service project around the school. Some students collect recycling. Actually, we had students cleaning windows. I think it was a day or two ago. That was pretty neat. Little windows that we have going into our classrooms. So a lot of different little service projects that students can do. So Lauren, if you can take us to grade 6 or level 1. Clicking on this link, if you were a 6th grade roundtable teacher, we got this next page in which you are given the different months of the year, which are broken down with their themes, and then as well as a list of mandatory items we'd like you to cover on a monthly basis, as well as suggested items. And I'll kind of explain why we did both of those. So going to September, our first month that we had, the focus of the school was school functions and purposes. So getting, especially 6th graders being new to the school, oriented. They understand how the school is functioning, what's expected of them on a daily basis, and really setting them up for academic success within our building. So the objectives are set out, and this is for all the different grade levels, but the roundtable teacher would get to see that it's important to getting to know you activities, especially here in the building, and then getting acquainted with founders. What is the school schedule? Our study habits. The roundtable teacher would go over homework, note testing, test taking. And then there's the overview of the founder's mission and vision, discussing those terms, and then setting some goals for the students in their own classroom, and then also even some personal goals, make some friends, join a club, something like that. And then selecting a service project for the class. Scrolling down, we have a week-by-week breakdown, where we have a quote of the week that is introduced at the beginning of the week, in which the roundtable teacher would read this out loud to the class, and then ask the students for some feedback on what they think of that. Sometimes that is a great way to have a conversation starter. Other times, not so much. The students are like, it's a good quote. Either way, we have a quote of the week. On the other side, we have the subject matter, in which students will get to discuss these different topics. So in week 1, it was very important to talk about their schedules. So they understand the alternating block schedule. That would be discussed in the round table. Moving on then to have the blockers assigned, lunch and recess, so on and so forth. Then each week afterwards, there'd be a new set of topics that teacher could discuss with those students in that 30-minute period. Scrolling all the way down, we have our mandatory topics, and all of them have hyperlinks either to a website that's going to aid them or back to like the student handbook or something here on the website. So that way the teacher, when giving out these materials or discussing scheduling, code of conduct, course descriptions, the writing process, when they click on one of these links, and or if you want to go to the mission statement, take them directly to the page, and then that way the teacher can read it immediately to those students. So that's kind of designed as this template. Scrolling on down through the mandatory topics, if we had time in September, it was a jam-packed one. But at the bottom here, we had suggested topics. That's some September announcements. Most of it was actually mandatory, so this wasn't the best one to show that. But in other ones, we have other suggested topics. So if you get through all the mandatory information, there could be some other topics you can cover. Scrolling back up, and I think, was there some for Constitution? Constitution Week. Constitution Day, 9/17. So not everything is on the website. What myself has done, Mrs. Hayes, and then occasionally some help from other teachers. What we've tried to do is find information based on certain topics that can be uploaded, as well as links for those teachers who don't have time to find those materials. Not every teacher in the building is a history teacher. I wish they were, because we are the best. But because we can't have that, we want to try and supply them with some good links that they would have resources in case they need to find information. So going to the Constitution Day link, teacher wants to get some extra information about that. ConstitutionDay.org, okay, website that celebrates Constitution Day, kind of explains the process of filling out the convention, the importance of the Constitution. So teachers could scroll through this real quick, read some stuff off for their students, and go back one time. We have each roundtable during the week. They're responsible for flag, pledge, and the anthem throughout the school year, and that begins in September. So we also uploaded a link to that in this flag, pledge, anthem, based on the schedule right here. So it kind of gives the breakdown of when those roundtables will be presenting. What is great about this template is that there is some flexibility. And I know that September may not look like the best month, but October, when you went to that template, the suggested topics, the mandatory topics, it gave some freedom of the teachers to choose what topics to be discussing on a certain day. We in the roundtables like to sometimes be reactionary, given what's going on in the current climate, either in the school, outside the school. We'd like to have the freedom to discuss, as we want to, some topics with students. So having this template allows us to do that. We still cover what we need to on a monthly basis and weekly basis. At the same time, gives the freedom to bring up current events. I'm sure some students are excited to talk about the Red Sox going to the World Series. That might have come up in some roundtables. That could have been something to discuss. Or whatever might else be going on with the building. We had a dance poster competition going on for the high school. They created posters to put up throughout the building. Middle school and high school helped out making scarecrows. So this kind of a schedule allowed those roundtables to compete and to do these activities without getting completely tied and attached to a structure that is outlined day by day. You have any questions about this template? It's still a working process. We're going to go month by month, adding information every month, and then getting some input from teachers.
It really is a neat project with all of the links and the backup information that supports it, and you don't have to necessarily go looking for it because obviously it's just links right there for you to see.
Yeah, and teachers have enough with planning on a day-to-day basis, and we understand that. So this was supposed to be an aid for those teachers, so they didn't just go somewhere and have that resource. Not have to worry about it. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's going to conclude it. Thank you very much.
That concludes it, and so picking up from where I rearranged the agenda, that we'd be up to number 5, which is the faculty representatives report, and that's a written report this month.
It is, and in fact, Mrs. Cormier is running right now as we sit here a Halloween gala that her course 4 was very enthusiastic about putting on. They chose this date prior to our meeting getting moved, thus she's coordinating that with those students who are very enthusiastic about that. It goes until 7 tonight. And so she has submitted a written report, but that's the reason for her absence, if that's what you want to call it, since she's just in the lower half.
Thank you for explaining that, and everybody's got the benefit of the report in their packet. This is a fun one here, number 6, because we have a new student trustee. It's a student trustees report. Welcome, Connor McFarland. Congratulations on your selection as being student representative. Welcome to your first board meeting, and let us have your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to thank the Student Senate. I know a bunch of you are in the crowd tonight for electing me into this position. I hope I can bring a different perspective to the table, to be able to bring a different perspective to the board. As the end of the quarter approaches, the student body has accomplished a lot. We have finished our proposal for a brand new student-written dress code. This dress code was made up by the student dress code committee, which I helped oversee. We took some feedback on the dress code from roundtable and from early meetings in Congress and made adjustments accordingly. Some students from the committee will be presenting our new dress code proposal to the board later on in the meeting. The Senate has also restarted the public relations committee to add a weekly letter to explain what the Senate's been doing during our meetings on a weekly newsletter. There has been some discussion of the Student Senate having a newsletter every week, but this has not been fully discussed. We're also updating our Senate website regularly for those who are interested in reading our meeting agendas and minutes. And I am so proud of the Senate, and I'm so happy we've gotten so much done throughout this year. The student body, I know, is looking forward to a great second quarter, and I can't wait to end the first quarter strong. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is item 8, new business. Under 8, the first item listed is our November board meeting date, and this is just a little bit of a heads up because the normal calendar would put our meeting on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which seems like an unlikely day to gather a crowd or even a quorum. So we'll be making some change to that. I don't know exactly which date will fall on, so please stay tuned for that.
So I will then remove that meeting from the 21st of November on the calendar.
Yes, and then we'll come up with a plan and let everybody know and get it posted in time so that everybody knows when that meeting will be. Item 8B is our policy committee, and I'm happy to announce we have a new chair. Christy Ouellette has volunteered to chair that committee and begin that work. I don't know if you have any additional comments or thoughts about heading off in that direction where you want to steer the ship, or you just...
We just need to pick a date and get some work done, because there's some stuff that needs to get done, so we'll be doing that in the next couple days, just kind of picking some dates to see what works. Yeah.
So I saw an email from you about a proposal that Mrs. Moody made about changing the sequence of our board meetings. So is that one of your things that you're going to be?
Yes, that will be one of the things that we look at during the first meeting, is talking about how we actually set up the agendas.
Okay. And who's on the committee?
I don't know.
The entire board put on it so far.
Yeah, we've all been kind of going.
Oh, okay.
So.
You haven't made up.
No, I'll reach out by email this week just to kind of try to pick some dates that everybody can go and then make it an afternoon all the time.
All right.
Thank you for that. Item 8C is continue our discussion on career pathways, and that's for Allison. Come on forward.
Hello. So I was just gonna give you a little bit of an update about what I've been working on. So I know you guys read over the policy that the policy that I've given you before, and Ms. Humphrey had some thoughts, so we had a meeting and we talked about those. And just this week, we had a high school focus group with a group of high schoolers to talk about their opinions and what they thought about the program. And they had some really fantastic ideas. So I'm taking those into consideration. And then I'm gonna have a teacher focus group next week. And then I'm gonna be doing a presentation for the Senate next week as well. And then I'll work on incorporating all those ideas and getting something back to you for you guys to talk about and then implement if you think that's the right way to go.
Any questions for us?
I'd like to make a comment here too. I was at the focus meeting, and first of all, Allison did a great job. She had all materials that they needed presented to them in each place. And she also had what are those things called?
Oh, a slideshow presentation?
Yes. And she chose excellent students to be members of this committee. And I would say that every single one of them was extremely enthused over the idea of having this community service project. They liked the idea that we would start out as a volunteer project, a sort of test project. But I don't think that we will have any trouble finding students who want to participate at all. And so I like the way she's going about it, which is sort of going to the different stakeholders in the school community and getting buy-in. It's really, when you're starting something new, it's a really effective way to do things.
Thank you.
Other comments?
I would have to say you've been putting in a ton of work, and I've seen
Yeah.
lots of it. Late nights, early mornings, and that's been impressive to see that you're doing that. And I think the fact that you've taken this from the original idea of a community service piece into a career pathway, so it can be many things to many people, has been fantastic. So I'm excited about seeing how it ends up after you speak with the teachers and more students. So thank you.
She runs a great meeting.
From everything here, you're doing a fabulous job with all aspects of this, and we really do appreciate it, and thank you very much. I think that's really Item 8D on our agenda is a discussion of our dress code, and so I believe we have.
So we have a committee of students from both Senate and House of Representatives that have created a presentation based on the work that they've done.
Oh, excellent.
So Ms. Briette, if you can project it, and guys, go
Come
ahead.
forward.
They've worked incredibly hard and given up their spare time. What are you looking for?
I've seen, I thought it was like, it wasn't as much.
Yeah, right here.
So this is our new proposed dress code for the Founders Academy, represented by the student senate, House of Reps, and the student body. And my name is Colby, Christian Colby, everyone calls me Colby though. This is
My name is David Knight.
I'm Connor McFarland.
and I am in grade 7, 8, 10.
So this is a link to our old dress code to review. We were gonna point out what we thought was like some problems that we had with the old dress code.
So Ms. Briette, are you able to pull up the link?
Or the lights off again, perhaps, I don't know.
Hold on. While she's pulling that up, do you guys want to talk about the student feedback that you got and some of the reasons you wanted to make changes?
Yeah, so we wanted to change the dress code because in the previous dress code, we had some problems with it. It would have a lot of gender bias in it. We wanted to remove all of that, and we wanted to make it so teachers could very clearly tell if someone was breaking dress code or not breaking dress code. We also wanted to make it so dress code would not affect class time, and make it so classes would not be disturbed.
Also, there has been lots of complaints by many students, including myself, about the dress code and not being able to like express themselves. And there was a lot of changes that I agree with just about every single one of these changes, and I think they'd be great for the school.
Do you want to just move forward? I'm sorry, the internet's not, something with the internet.
I think we should just go over the changes. Maybe we should go there.
Yeah, because the slideshow is still there, but the internet's not letting me get into the website.
You want to try using my laptop to access the flow?
I don't think it's the laptop, it's just the internet. But I can put the slides back up if you like.
Yeah, we should
Yeah,
just
you
do
can do
that.
that's fine.
Everything makes sense. Like, just so you basically.
So the Founders Academy celebration of everyone, all the individuals in relation to our mission statement. And we want to encourage students to make their own choices and that they need to be respectful. And in the workplace, they sometimes have dress codes. And when you have a dress code, it sort of gives them a future, like, I don't know what I can say there, but sets them up for the future.
So the students started with this statement and talking about why have a dress code at Founders and what does it mean for attire to be respectful to the different groups. And they spent a lot of time talking about this statement before they moved forward to talk about particulars.
So this is how we decided on the dress code. So first we had a meeting over the summer, so you might remember that, and we, that got put down by the board meeting, board. And then when school started back up, we started at the roundtable level, and all the roundtables had a discussion on the dress code and what they thought should be changed for the dress code. And we took all that and compiled it all into one massive Google Doc, and well, actually before that, in House of Reps, we decided on students that would be put into a dress code subcommittee as well as the student senate did the same. And then we have a group of students who meet on Wednesday mornings during roundtable, giving up their roundtable time to work on dress code. And we created this dress code, which we will now present.
So this is our suggested dress code and like what we want to change. So this is just in an organized way.
This is just it all like in a layout, but we broke it up into slides.
We will talk about all of these in the later slides, but we are just going over everything right now.
Just like, just take a look at it.
So, these are the general guidelines. Basically, we just know hoods or hats, since they can sometimes get in the way of learning, because if you just have it over your head like this, it just isn't good. So, no inappropriate or negative or disrespectful messages or graphics, especially no alcohol, tobacco, drugs, violence, weapons, or profanity. And no inappropriately placed grips, tears, or holes in clothing, but patch holes and cool shoulder shirts are acceptable. No sheer clothing unless there is solid underneath, and all undergarments must be covered completely.
So moving on to top, so the top show on the modest necklines. I got, the second one I actually got straight from the ASB dress code. All straps must be 2 fingers in width at a minimum, and fingers must be covered at all times.
We explored trying to remove the word modest. We spent a good 10 minutes during the study hall trying to think of a different way to reword modest, and we just could not think of a different word. So,
I think people will be able to understand what that means, though.
Bottoms, shorts or skirts / dresses must not be shorter than fingertip length. When the individual is standing normally, that shoulder with shoulders relaxed. No messages or words on the backside of the bottom. Pants must not fall below the waist. No sheer pants or leggings unless the bottom is covered.
shoes, no backless shoes, no flip-flops. Birkenstock types of sandals are acceptable. Heels cannot exceed 2.5 inches high. That is the exact same that it was before.
And the first and the third point we did it for safety reasons, because if you're running out of the fire and you don't have a back on your shoe, you can easily trip or fall and you can't, run.
Makeup, jewelry, and hair. So basically, hair, makeup, and accessories will be modest and appropriate, and no piercings other than traditional earrings or body art may be visible.
By traditional earrings, we mean just the small earring. Oops, sorry, sorry. And thank you for your time. Any questions or concerns?
Can you read the statement that you created? The actual statement, because I think you tied it into the mission by.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
The Founders Academy Public Charter School.
Sorry.
The Founders Academy is a public charter school that celebrates the whole person. One of the ways that individual students express themselves is in the way they dress. In growing the leaders of the future and the guardians of our liberty, we want to encourage students to make clothing choices that are respectful to themselves, to their teachers and administrators and school.
Thank you for your entire presentation. I think you did a lot of work to develop this, and you did a good job with the products that you developed. And I also want to give you a special applause for your presentation here today, because public speaking is kind of one of the most difficult things that people have to get through and to be able to accomplish, and it's not easy, and you did a great job with it. And so thank you to all of that. Before these guys get any questions, I do want to just give you what do we got for questions?
So I want to congratulate you too, and one of the things I love about it is that you took a concept, you didn't just discuss clothes, you discussed them in terms of what your values were, and I think you did a great job with that. I want to, since this exercise has been done throughout the whole school, do you think that all the students, or virtually all of them, will buy into this and accept it?
So-
and abide by it?
The biggest concerns I've heard from the student body is ripped jeans. They think that ripped jeans should be acceptable. And the other thing was leggings, and as long as the leggings aren't sheer, according to this dress code, they're acceptable. And ripped jeans, as long as there's no holes in inappropriate places, those are acceptable. So I think that the student body would agree to this.
And do you think they appreciated having a voice in this?
Yes, I think they
And
appreciate
do you
that.
think you guys learned something about leadership from doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you learn?
I learned, well, first off, we have to speak in front of a whole bunch of people.
Anything else?
I learned that it's a lot of effort trying to change something. I invested all of my roundtable fellowship time, and 2 study hall periods to work on this.
And you think it was worth it?
I think it was definitely worth it.
Well, I think so too, and of course, I was very invested in this being done in this way. And I can't think of anybody doing a better job than what we did.
Other comments or questions?
I want to say too that I'm very impressed that you were able to kind of take a topic that is both convoluted and controversial, and people have very significant feelings on all sides, and you did a fantastic job really addressing all of that. And I really think being aware of the gender bias in dress codes, and working to remove that is fantastic. It really does show an incredible sense of leadership on all of your parts, that you were able to do that. I do have one question, more probably for administration perhaps, but who decides when there's been an infraction? Because you mentioned that you're not allowing it to take away from classroom time. What does that look like in your new policy as far as how that will work?
What we knew from beforehand is teachers, before, they were expected to write up students for disobeying dress code. But with just this dress code, I do not see students disobeying it, because I think it accommodates for everyone.
I can speak to that as well. Currently and going forward, if teachers feel that students are out of dress code, they would send them to me. If they were dramatically out of dress code, with a yellow slip write-up, if it was a minor infraction just for a conversation, we might make a phone call home for clothes. A big thing that I try to do is have teachers not send them directly to me, but contact me so that I can do that during lunch or study hall, so that in addition to making the dress code better fit what the student body feels they need, we're also trying to make the dealing with infractions of dress code not take place during academic time.
Great, I appreciate that, because I do hear a lot, not here, but you hear a lot about chatter about that. And it's important that have this in class time,
So
especially in
what I do when a student has their dress coded and they're waiting for a parent to deliver clothing or something, I write them a note to carry with them until they have a change of clothes available so that they're right back in class.
Great, thank you. Thank you again, guys. This is fantastic.
Comments or questions? As some of these comments and questions came forward, it reminded me of the challenges you must have faced building the consensus. And it's obviously a very strong component of leadership is working past some obstacles when people have strong feelings about some things. You must have spent a lot of time doing that. I don't want to sort of quiz you on where that difficulties lie, but I just want to applaud you for that element of what you've done to build a consensus that all of the students are behind you to support. Is there any more work in front of you with this policy, or do you believe that this is appropriate now for the board to consider for adoption?
There is one thing I'd like to add. We didn't mention it much on the slideshow, but we would also like for to get rid of on the dress code is for hair colors. Basically, we would like to allow all hair colors as long as they are not completely insane or just extremely, like, I think people should be able to dye their hair instead of just black, yellow, a little bit. I think people should be able to dye their hair like blue or purple, whatever really they want, as long as it isn't just yellow, green, blue, every color, it just maybe.
And the wording in there does allow for that now. It says hair color and makeup should be modest and appropriate. It does not any longer prohibit colors that aren't natural.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear.
Wanna-
Because
I
that has been
personally-
probably the number one thing I've been hearing about from everyone. Ripped jeans and hair colors, that's the two main things I've been hearing about, so just want to make it clear.
Okay, thank you for making that clear. Any other comments by any of the rest of you? Good job, Don. In terms of board action on this, I would suggest that we probably take that up at our next meeting so that if there's any public comment they'd like to come forward on, we've got a published policy, there's a chance for people to be able to do that. With that, then we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. Item 8E is listed as a discussion on our 5-year outlook, and this is another bit of a heads up, and this is not to sort of begin that discussion here, but to mention that it's up to the board to begin planning some 5-year goals, and there will be some involvement from the parent steering committee and some discussions and some other opportunities going forward. Kim, you want to add anything to that, or is that kind of covered?
I think it's important that we look at things. One of the big items would be attracting and retaining quality teachers. There are some items that every school, charter school faces, and we need to start making some plans for that. We've made a lot of strides with health insurance and maternity leave and different things trying to offer that, but there are a lot of other areas that we can be looking at. So lots of goals to work out.
With just that brief introduction and a little bit of identification of goals, is there anything anybody else would like to comment on that one before we kind of take our agenda further?
Just think it's a good idea to do it. Have to think for a while, haven't been thinking about that, but I'm sure there are a lot of things I would like to say if I thought about it.
And it'll be a nice opportunity to bring the parent steering committee in for a part of that, where they can get feedback and so forth from parents in the community, from the students for some of the goals probably.
Is that kind of thing going to be handled at a retreat, like a retreat environment, or is it in any given board meeting, doesn't feel like we could get after the discussion and plan, to get everyone's opinions on the table, their thoughts on the table, and come to some manner of consensus, and it just feels like a bigger job.
We can think about that.
I think we could think about that, whether it's through retreat or through some of our committees that can do some of the work. I'm particularly sensitive to, because a retreat is still a public meeting for us. If there's a quorum, it's there. And if we set aside some day to have a longer meeting with a longer retreat, it's certainly a burden for people to try to attend something that is at a different time of the day or is longer in a format. And somehow we want to capture that feedback as well, but maybe it's part retreat, and maybe it's part committee meetings and a lot of other places to bring forth. I think it also probably takes a starting point from our charter and figuring out what's the structure of what we want to do for goals. Are there some goals related to administration? Are there some goals related to finance? Are there some goals related to different areas? So anyway, really right now it's just kind of introducing the idea, putting it forward for some discussion.
Well, I can tell you, I appreciate this being on the agenda and also the excitement, the prospect of what the next 5 years will bring. The fact that this is now 5 years in and all that we've accomplished and all that's been done is really quite something. Even more exciting is what the next 5 will bring. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's a comment not lost on me in terms of celebrating the 5 years that we've had. I saw out in the lobby the notebook to leave some birthday wishes for Founders Academy. I thought it was cute. I didn't get a chance to read what anybody's written in it, but I thought just the general idea of happy birthday to Founders is a cool idea. So congratulations to the administration on making it your 5 years. Item 9 on our agenda is the potential for a non-public session, and I think that we should maybe deal with personnel issues. I think that we probably should. I would entertain a motion to enter into a non-public session pursuant to 91A3, whichever subdivision deals with personnel matters. I don't know what the Roman numeral is, but is someone willing to make such a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Motion and second to enter non-public session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.